Hi guys, today we are going to take some notes and learn a little bit more about applications, but it's not one of the pages in your binder, so you just need to get out a piece of paper, take this piece of paper, and fold it in half just once this direction. Maybe you could fold it less crooked than I did, but it doesn't really matter. Fold your paper in half, and then I'm going to show you what we need to write down and set up here. Okay, lots of writing on this particular paper. So yeah, you're going to pause me and write it down. There's only 4 total questions. Yes, it's lots to write, but you know how we pick some papers now and you submit them for binder checks? Hang on to this one because odds are pretty good I'm going to pick this paper. All right, so on the top it says writing and solving equations. So here's what question number 1 says. Feel free to pause me if you need to write it all down. Feel free to pause me because you need to write it all down. It says there are twice as many sophomores as freshmen in a high school band. Sophomores are 10th graders, freshmen are 9th graders. There are 3 times as many juniors as freshmen. Juniors are 11th graders, and twice as many seniors, 12th graders, as freshmen. If there are a total of 240 students in this high school band, how many are in each grade level? This is a type of question we worked on before. So this is serving as a review before we get to our test, but it's also going to help lead us into to make some connections with what else we're doing here. So we always start these problems by assigning a variable, right? And that should be based on this one piece of information that if I knew this one thing, I could find everything else. So what do you think this is all based on? There's twice as many sophomores as freshmen. So sophomores are based off freshmen. 3 times as many juniors as freshmen. Juniors are based off of freshmen. And twice as many seniors as freshmen. Seniors are based off of freshmen. Everybody's based off of freshmen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write over here. I'm going to say, okay, freshmen. The number of freshmen is going to be my X. The number of freshmen in the school band, I'm going to let that be X because that's what everything else is determined by. Okay, X is the number of freshmen. Let's list the rest of these. Sophomores. It's kind of a funny word. Sophomores. We just say it really fast. Sophomores. Sophomores. Twice as many sophomores as freshmen. Okay. 3 times as many juniors. Okay, so juniors, 3 times as many juniors as freshmen. If there are a total of, oh, I skipped something. 3 times as many juniors and twice as many seniors. Can't forget about the seniors. And all of these together are 240. So I assign my variable and then I use that variable to figure out expressions, that's the word I couldn't find for a second, expressions for all the rest of them. And now I'm ready to use all of those to set up and solve an equation. Again, this part's a review here. So X, the freshmen, plus the sophomores, plus the juniors, plus the seniors, equals a total of 240. Now I want you to pause right here and notice, not physically pause the video, but pause your brain for a minute and notice this is an equation where all the variables are on one side of the equation. When you have all the variables on one side, this kind of scenario turns into that when they give you this idea of total amount of students. Okay, here's all this stuff going on and it equals this total. That means all your variables are going to be on one side of the equation and you're going to have equals to a total over here. When all the variables are on one side, combine like terms. Okay, so these are all x's, so I can put them all together. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 x's is equal to 240. So once again, when the variables are all on the same side, you get to just combine them. They're on the same side, don't do anything inverse, just put them together because they're on the same side of the equal sign. All right, so now I go divide by 8, divide by 8. 240 divided by 8, well 24 divided by 8 would be 6, so 240 divided by 8 is 60. Okay, that is solving the equation, but that's not finishing the entire question. It says, if there are 240 students in this high school band, here's the question, how many are in each grade level? So we wrote all these things out to get expressions, and now we use those to solve it. So now we need to write out all of our answers. Okay, so freshman is 60. there are 60 freshmen because that's what X was. Now we're going to use that to find the rest of these. Sophomores were 2 times that. Well, that's 120. Juniors were 3 times the freshmen. 60 times 3 is 180. And seniors were also 2 times the freshmen, so that's 120. Those are all of my solutions. And this particular question asked a lot of questions. Actually, it asked for each grade level, so that was actually 4 different grade levels there for 4 different answers. And I'm just going to quickly 60 plus 120 plus 180 plus 120 just to verify 408. Oh no, 480. What does that mean? That means you guys should have stopped me way back here. That means this answer, 24 divided by 8 is 6. Why did you guys even let me say that in a video? 24 divided by 8 is of course 3, and that's 30. But that is why I always go through and check and add it all up, because that answer didn't work out. It didn't make sense because I was like double everything. That's a much bigger band than it said. So this one's 30. Some of you are like, I wrote this on pen, Miss McGowan. Now I have to fix it. Yeah, me too. So now this is 60. And now this is 30 times 3 is 90. And now this is 60. And now we can say, okay, 30 plus 60 plus 90 plus 60, 240. The moral of the story here is, of course, find a way to check your solutions and make sure they make sense. Okay, I'm going to give you question number 2. It's going to be another story problem. It's going to come down here. Number 2. Okay, and it's going to be set up a little bit differently. All right, number 2, like magic, it appeared on my paper, but you guys have to write it down. Cell phone plan A charges $85 plus $12 for every gigabyte of data used. Some cell phone plans, you can pay a lot to just have unlimited data, but some cell phone plans will charge you like, here's what you pay per month, so $85, plus we're gonna charge you extra money when you go over by every gigabyte you go over, okay? So this plan A is like, we charge $85, but then $12 more on top of that per gigabyte of data used. Cell phone plan B charges $100 plus $8 per gigabyte of data. This is a very different type of question than this up here. This question is not going to be which one is everything based off of, because look what the question asks. When will the price of the 2 plans be the same? All right, so we need to define a variable here. You really are still looking at what is this based off of, but it's not necessarily one thing based off something else. When we say what is it based off of, what is the price based off of? In this story, what's determining the price? One part of it is set. The $85 is set. The $100 is set. So what else is determining this price? Well, the other thing that's determining this price is number of gigabytes used. That's the big unknown here, is how many gigabytes can you use? And specifically, we are looking for what is the number of gigabytes that will make the price the same? This is going to be a very different type of equation. So watch what we can do. A lot of this is very similar to how you set things up with your 7th grade level questions. All right, if X is the number of gigabytes used, well then for cell phone plan A, I'm going to write this, just like we did with freshman and sophomore and wrote some expressions up there. I'm going to say, okay, plan A, the plan A, there we go, and plan B. Let's take a look at this information. Let's write some expressions to represent each plan. Plan A charges $85 plus $12 per gigabyte. Plan B charges $100 plus $8 per gigabyte. Now, the other thing that's different about this story is it doesn't say any type of total. It's not like I'm just adding these together and setting it equal to a total. What the question asks me is, when will the 2 plans be the same? And if that's the question they're asking me, is when these 2 plans will be the same, then what I need to do is I need to find out when is this, plan A, going to be equal to this, plan B. When is plan A going to be equal to plan B? That's what I need to find out. So that's my equation, and hey, look at this. This equation is an equation with variables on both sides. This is not an equation with all the variables on one side, it's variables on both sides. This is like our new 8th grade type of equation, but we totally know how to solve it. First, we zero out one of the variables. I'm gonna go with this one. Then I go, okay, 85 plus 4x equals 100. All right, now I zero out the number, minus 85 minus 85. And I get 4x equals 15. And then divide by 4, and x equals 15 divided by 4. You can type it in, but it's 3.75. Now, what does that answer mean in this story? Well, in this story, it means that if you use 3.75 gigabytes, there's abbreviation for that, gigabytes of data, the two plans will cost the same. Okay, if you use 3.75, and why would you even care to know that? Well, if you have some idea of how much data you use every month, then it can help you choose which plan to go with. Because this one's certainly cheaper for the month, but it charges more per gig. And this one's a little more expensive, but charges less per gig. So that now you have an idea. If you use less than 3.75 gigs per month, you should go with the one that's a little cheaper, but more expensive per gig. If you use more than that, then you should switch your plan. So this is just a great decision-making tactic. All right, we're just gonna do one more. So everybody flip your paper over. Ta-da, number 3. Enrollment in dance class is currently 120 students and is decreasing at a rate of 6 students per term. The enrollment in choir is 80 students and is increasing at a rate of 6 students per term. When will dance and choir have the same number of students? All right, let's assign a variable. What does the number of students depend on? How is it changing? Well, it's changing based on the number of terms. Okay, so with that in mind, let's write expressions for choir and dance. I guess the story mentions dance first, but enrollment in dance class is currently 120 students and is decreasing at a rate of 6 students per term. Has 120, it's decreasing, so I did subtraction. 120 minus 6x is an expression to represent dance class. Choir currently has 80 students and is increasing at a rate of 6 students per term. Okay, so when will these be the same? All right, let's find out. Let's set up an equation. 80 plus 6x equals 120 minus 6x. All right, so I'm going to zero out a variable now. Do you notice how this type of situation is turning into variables on both sides kind of story? The whole when is it the same? All right, so I'm going to go plus 6x on both sides. So I have 80 plus 12x equals 120. And I have minus 80 minus 80. 12x equals 9, 10, 11, 12, 40. Double checking my work this time, so I'm making any weird mistakes. Divide by 12, divide by 12. 40 divided by 12. Well, I know it's not going to come out even. 40 divided by 12 is 3.3 repeating. So that's officially the answer. When will these two classes be the same? Not in an exact term time. The dance and choir classes will be the same. I don't know, between terms 3 and 4. It depends on the official answer to this question, I guess, really depends on if the counselors let them switch in the middle of the term or if they have to actually wait till the new term. Okay, so we're going to practice a lot more of these applications tomorrow. These are the type of applications we already have known how to do, where all the variables end up on the same side. But now we need to get better at also application problems where the variables are on opposite sides. Today's quiz is just reviewing all things about solving equations. So there's no stories in today's quiz practice, just a lot of solving equations. And then tomorrow we'll practice a lot more applications. Please let your math teacher know if you need any help.